I'm Stan Ovshinsky. I'm a scientist, inventor. I work in the twin pillars of our global economy, hydrogen, but I work in energy and information.
So you had talked about a 1 gigawatt solar plant. What's the timeline for that first plant?
Well, right now, whatever I do, I like to show. I don't like talking. In order to show, I do proof of principle. And right now I'm doing a proof of principle and I'm sure it can work because I built many photovoltaic production processors. And I'm working on that. And as soon as I finish that, I'll build a large production machine.
What are the stakes?
Well, you'll have realistic proof of the economics, which would be making solar energy for the first time. Lower cost, actually, than coal.
So, in your talk, you talked about essentially replacing coal in the United States with solar. I mean, that's the ultimate goal?
Oil. Anything that has a carbon footprint can be replaced by solar. There's no pollution at all, no climate change gases, no war over oil. And the poorest countries, and I work internationally, the poorest countries have the richest, not beneath the ground, because they usually don't have oil. That goes away. But their sun, they have enough sun, as I said, to solve the problems of energy in the world.
So that's a very large and audacious goal. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by it?
No, because I've been doing it. When you know that you're doing it and successful. I've been since January 1st, 1960, when my late wife and I had a storefront laboratory. Till now, I've not had anything that didn't work in everything I've done. I've enabled electric and hybrid vehicles with my hydrogen ion nickel metal hydride batteries. Every commercial car on the road that's a hybrid or electric.
So GM on one of their blogs said the reason they ended the EV1 program was inadequate batteries.
It's not true. The people, they're talking about batteries now. Electric's 40 miles or 80 miles. The first ones I made for them went 200 miles, the very first one. So they had an internal change of policy. That's their right. And they didn't do it. And then they crushed the cars, as you know.
So 200 miles is an amazing number.
Actually, I had an agreement that if I failed, they could go on and describe it publicly, because of course, they never did describe it publicly. So by the time they put it into production, they dropped the mileage somewhat, quite a bit actually, down to about 125, 150 miles. But the first runs that were being tested were my first run was 201 miles to be exact. So it had a lot, they could have done a lot more than they did. But they're a company and they're not doing so well now. And I don't think that we ought to be living in the past with them. They're trying very desperately now to get back into the electric vehicle business.
So why aren't we hearing more of these high capacity metal hydride batteries?
I think we made ECD made a mistake of having a joint venture with an oil company, frankly speaking. And I think it's not a good idea to to go in business with somebody whose strategies are really would put you out of the business rather than building the business.
So it's your opinion that Cobusys is preventing other people from making it for that reason?
Cobusys is not preventing anybody. Cobusys just needs an infusion of cash. It builds a great battery, and if I had had my way, and if people in the industry had listened, I had 2 next generation batteries, one under test that was doing very well, one being developed, would have made them not take a chance as they are now with lithium. Mm-hmm. But I invented the batteries, and I have no ownership in any case anymore. I would have liked to, and I probably will in the future, even though to do what I feel should be done. And I think that we should encourage, I would rather be a resource to General Motors. I'm not trying to be a critic.
So what's the advice, what advice can you give people about, starting a company that
Well, build a new society in your company. One that you don't pigeonhole people, but you bring out the potential in people, where you're the leader only by example and not by dictum, that you don't fill it full of bureaucracy, because bureaucracy always has a life of its own. And committed people who can be excited and dedicated and not another job. Mm-hmm. Because changing the world for the better is a struggle that goes beyond our lifetime. Hopefully everybody else coming after will still try to do that, but it's going to be harder to change after about 20 or so years. And to me, life has to be art as well. And our culture, our civilization, should be one accessible to everyone. I'm not trying to compete with anything or anybody. I'm trying to compete with fossil fuel because it's dangerous. It has to be changed. And if we don't do it, no one else will, the people who can. But I really feel that it's something that the public that you represent should be knowledgeable about, should support, because the stuff that you hear on the radio and on the various chats rooms, there's so much that isn't right, that without an educated public, then you can't make a revolution happen.
What would the lessons to be learned for younger scientists then?
Well, younger scientists who are inventors, because that's what I am. Mm-hmm. I'm still 19 years old as far as I feel about science and technology. I'm very excited by it. I find it, but I'm also motivated by a strong social consciousness, which I don't find a lot of outside of the groups that I have built in the past. That science and technology has to not be value-free, but to solve the serious societal problems. And obviously, climate change, if you don't do anything about it, is 20 years, it's going to change the planet irreversibly and terribly. As I said, the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists now puts it to same par as civilization, so to speak, ending with atomic